What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well today. We have made it to the end of the week. We have made it to Friday, and the Seahawks still do not have an offensive coordinator, and I don't think they're going to have one for a little while. This process usually takes a few weeks, and honestly, it should. It should take a few weeks because they should go through as many options as possible. Even candidates that I don't like very much, even candidates that I don't think are qualified, you should still at least take a look at them. You should still at least hear what they have to say. So this is going to take a while, and we're going to have plenty of time to go through candidates. And in this video today, we're going to be doing another candidate by the name of Adam Stenavich. This video is powered by BetUS. More on them a little bit later. But Adam Stenavich is a name that a lot of Seahawks fans may remember because he was briefly part of the head coaching search last season. He was not one of the more compelling names on the head coaching hire list last year, but he was a name. He was somebody that I think the Seahawks at least briefly considered, and he was somebody who was potentially up for that. Now, a year later, he continues to be considered one of the bright minds in professional football, in offensive football, and he continues to be covetable. I'm not sure if he's going to get a head coaching job yet, but it might be time for him to get an opportunity to call plays, because right now, where he is in Green Bay, he is the offensive coordinator, but he is not calling plays because they have LaFleur, and LaFleur has been running that show for a while now. But Stenavich has been under LaFleur for quite some time now. He's been there, I believe, the entire time that LaFleur has been. And he's got some pretty good skins on the wall in terms of accomplishments. Now, I'll just go ahead and say it. This is going to be one of those hires where you're taking a risk. And there are going to be a lot of Seahawks fans right now that oppose this kind of hire straight down the line simply because he's never called plays before. So understand that going in. This is one of those guys who you're just hoping knows how to get it done. But I think that of the candidates that you could hire that have not called plays before, this is one of the best ones. And this is somebody who a lot of people speak very highly of. This is somebody who has a bright future ahead of him very clearly. And I would go as far as to say that while I prefer getting somebody with play calling experience, Stenavich would be one of the guys that would get me on board if we hired him despite the lack of that experience. So the resume is short, but let's go ahead and take a little bit of a look at it. Currently 41 years old. He's been the Green Bay Packers offensive coordinator for the last 3 years. Again, he does not call plays for the Packers. LaFleur does. So what he does is a little bit hard to figure out. And there are offensive coordinators like this all the time. Like Matt Nagy didn't call plays when he was under Andy Reid. Neither did Doug Peterson. For the most part, offensive coordinators under Sean McVay don't call plays because Sean McVay does. So this is not something that is new, but it is something that you as a evaluator have to deal with. You don't know if he's got what it takes to be a good play caller in this league because he's never done it yet. Nevertheless, if you were to take a look at the 3 years he's been there, the most recent year was probably his best. 27.1 points per game, which was 8th in the league, and .081 EPA per play, which was also 8th in the league. And remember, the Packers didn't even have their quarterback for the whole season. They had Malik Willis in there for a few games, and they continued to scratch out respectable performances. So Stenavich, for whatever he controls over there with that Packers offense, and it's hard to know exactly what it is, definitely did a good job in 2024. Before we go any further, though, I want to tell you about my friends over at BetUS. You can get on over there right now and utilize their sportsbook and bet on the upcoming wild card round playoff games in the NFL. We've got 6 games coming up this week. We've got Vikings, Rams. You got Chargers, Texans. You've got Steelers, Ravens. You guys know the drill right now. We've got a bunch of fun playoff games coming up. You can do point spreads. You can do money lines. You can do over-unders. You can do game props. You can do all kinds of fun stuff on BetUS. Get on over there, check out their casino as well, and use promo code YouTube150 to get a 150% bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000. and a 125% deposit bonus on your next two deposits up to $2,000. So go get your free money over at BetUS, check him out, and have fun gambling on whatever sports you want to gamble on. We got basketball, we've got hockey, we've got college football. We still got some college football games. So check him out. Okay, so back to Stenavich. Previous years, the 2023 Packers, the first year of Jordan Love as the full-time starter. Lower points per game by a significant margin, 22.5, 12th in the league, but higher EPA ranking, even though the raw EPA was lower, 0.075, which was 5th in the league, which is actually bordering on elite. And it also kind of goes to show how the average points per game across the NFL went up from 2023 to 2024. So that's why the numbers look a little bit funky. And 2022 was the last year of Aaron Rodgers, and the offense was slightly above average. Less than 22 points a game, 0.017 EPA per play. 14th and 11th, respectively, which is decent. This was the point where Aaron Rodgers started to pretty firmly hit the ceiling, I think. This was the point where I felt like Rodgers wasn't the same anymore. And the fact that he's gotten such great results out of Jordan Love so far is a feather in his cap. But again, he's not play calling. The year before his first year as the offensive coordinator, he was the offensive line coach and run game coordinator. So he wore two hats for the 2021 Packers. The 2021 Packers had a couple of notable offensive linemen on that team. Elgton Jenkins was still there, and so was John Runyon Jr. So those were the notable names there. And the run game for the Packers in 2021 was about average in terms of raw production. They had 1,900 rushing yards, which was 18th. But their EPA ranking was very good. They were just barely negative in EPA per play on running plays, which understand that very, very few teams have positive EPA on running plays. You can see that this year there were about 5 teams that had positive EPA per play. Running plays are negative EPA almost universally, unless you're the Ravens or the Niners or a team like that. The Eagles, too. So, really good EPA ranking. And the 2 years prior to that, he was just the offensive line coach. So you can see him moving up in the world of the Packers offense. 2019 to 2020, I believe these were the first 2 years of LaFleur in Green Bay. He was just the offensive line coach. Some of the notable names from this era of Packers offensive line were David Bakhtiari, Elgton Jenkins, Corey Linsley, and Brian Bulaga. All 4 of those guys were very well respected as some of the best offensive linemen of their era, some of the best protectors out there. And generally speaking, that offensive line has always been highly respected. Rodgers, you look at his stats from that era, very good. And remember, his stats at the end of the Mike McCarthy era had fallen off significantly. So things improved from 2018 to 2019. And a lot of it is LaFleur, but at the same time, Stenavich was there too. So, pretty good. It's a good resume. It just lacks play calling experience. So, before this, before Green Bay, he was in San Fran. So, he remains kind of nestled underneath the Shanahan tree as well. Got a little bit of a background there, as does LaFleur in a way. And when he was in San Fran for 2 years, 2017, 2018, this was the bad 49ers era, to be clear. The 2017, 2018 Niners were not very good. So he was the assistant offensive line coach. He did coach some pretty darn notable names. You had Joe Staley. We had Laken Tomlinson. Laken Tomlinson was a very good player during this era, even though the team was not very good. You had Mike McGlinchey, very high pick, good run blocker, not a good pass protector. And you also had Trent Brown there for a little bit. So he crossed paths with some good offensive linemen. What I would say is that Staley and Tomlinson were established good players before he got there. So it's not like he necessarily developed these guys, but these are the notable offensive linemen that he crossed paths with and coached for a couple years when he was in San Fran. And you can see how what he did here led to him getting a little bit of a promotion in Green Bay, and then getting to wear a secondary hat, and then getting another promotion. And now the only thing he needs is play calling experience. And in order to get that, he's going to have to go somewhere else. because he's not going to get it under LaFleur in Green Bay. I think LaFleur is very happy to be calling plays for the Packers. And I think the Packers are very happy to have him call plays. So that's about it. There are 2 previous stops worth noting. He was an offensive line coach for the San Jose State Spartans for 2 years, from 2015 to 2016. And he was also the offensive line coach for the Northern Arizona Lumberjacks in 2014. And that kind of stuff, I don't think there's much meaning you can glean from it, especially because he's had close to a decade of experience since then doing different things. So I'm not going to try to parse any meaning here. I will say that neither team had any particularly notable offensive linemen. None of the offensive linemen he coached at San Jose State or Northern Arizona went on to be good NFL players. But that is his prior experience. I know he spent a couple years as a graduate assistant at Michigan with the Wolverines, but in terms of meaningful experience, this is about it. So this could be the next hot shot. This is a candidate to be that next young, bright mind in the NFL who comes in and just takes the offensive world by storm. But the risk remains. So while I like Stenavich a lot, and I think he's going to be good, and I would be fine with hiring him, this is not my preferred path. That's the way I'm going to put it. So let me know what you guys think about him, Stenavich. It's a good resume, man. He's a good mind. He's done good things in this league, but the risk is there, and the Seahawks have been burned on taking risk at the offensive coordinator spot the last 2 times. All right, I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. And more coaching profiles coming soon. Should have another video in a couple of hours. And we're going to keep going until they hire somebody, basically.